I'm making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, Law of the State of New Jersey. The Planning Board Secretary has prepared a schedule of the meeting of the Planning Board for the year 2026 and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source. Our letter and the meetings are posted on the Borough website and the bulletin board in Borough Hall, and is maintaining a copy of this schedule in Borough Hall. Accordingly, the notice of the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Here. Here. Okay, before we go into the approval of the minutes and starting our meeting, the planning board has to go into an executive session for the retaining of professionals and things like that. So we need to take a few minutes for our executive session.
Just to discuss potential appointment of contract.
Is there a motion? Motion made by Mr. Picoli, second by Mr. Clementi. All in favor? Aye. For the sake of the people in public not having to go out and get wanted again, the board is going to go into the chambers, so you can stay right here and we'll be right back. If you'd like us to get started, you can. Make a motion to go back to the session. Motion made by Mr. David, second by Mr. Mazzio. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're back in session. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of 6:23:26? Moved by Mr. Clementi, second by Mr. Picoli. All in favor? Aye. Kathy, any communications? What? Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's just help us out too. We have a new dais here. We have new microphones. We're all learning.
Okay, just do it right.
It's our first time here tonight with these. We're going to try to work them. If you can't hear us, please let us know as you are, and we'll do the best we can. Can you hear me? Yeah. Now we will have her repeat her statement.
Yeah, no problem.
Kathy, any communications?
We have several emails opposing the data center.
Okay. Thank you for the report. Moving on. Application 26-003, Onyx LLC, Kenilworth Corporation, Property Subdivision, 2000 Galvin Road. Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
You have to hold
Yep.
it down. You have to hold the button.
Is that better? It's not
You have to hold it.
Okay.
You gotta put the handicap.
Why you gotta just project your voice? Talk about it. I should be used to it.
You got it.
Kathy, you
Maybe you can buy a new one.
All right, everybody can hear me now? Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jason Subel, attorney for the applicant. This is an application for subdivision approval for block 181, block 1.0101. This application is for subdividing that parcel into two separate conforming properties. Right now, this parcel is approximately 71.6 acres, and the goal would be to subdivide it into two tracts as follows. One tract would be 59.6 acres approximately, and the other tract would be approximately 12 acres. I believe it's 11.99 acres to be exact. Both lots as proposed are fully conforming with the ordinance. And just to give a little bit of background on what's on each proposed lot. So the 59.6 acre lot, which is the larger tract of the subdivision proposal, is building K15, which is a large office building. The 12 acres is comprised of 3 office buildings. There's other infrastructure on the property, but it's primarily 3 office buildings comprised of K1, K5, and K6. That's how the buildings are known on the property. So the goal of the subdivision, or the reason for it, is the applicant will continue to own a larger tract, which is approximately 59.6 acres. They will continue to try to lease up that building, K15, with office and laboratory uses. They have good tenants in there now. I believe Revlon is in there, and JIT, and they're looking to continue to get top-rated tenants in that space. The 12-acre parcel, there is a prospective purchaser to buy that, a New Jersey-based corporation that is going to occupy that space with corporate and executive offices. That is the purpose of the subdivision of that parcel. I understand that there's been a lot of interest in this property or the property next door, and I just wanted to go on record. I said there was a prospective purchaser. I cannot identify who it is, but I can say one thing. It is not Corweed. Corweed is not buying that property as part of the subdivision if a purchase goes through. It will be a New Jersey-based company that will come in and occupy the space with corporate and executive offices. There's approximately 500, I just want to get it right, 530,000 square feet in the 3 buildings on that smaller lot that we're subdividing. And the goal is to get tenants or get people in those buildings as part of a top-notch company to continue to, I guess, redevelop this campus. We've reviewed the letters from your board professionals, your board planner, your board engineer. There's some technical comments in those letters. You can comply with all those outstanding. Sorry, the mic went out of your hand. If you want, I can talk loud. Can everybody hear me? If I talk loud?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure.
That will be recorded.
Oh, can you, Gavin? I'm on to talk loud. Okay. So as I was indicating, we did receive letters from your board professionals. There are very technical comments in there. Again, there's no site improvements proposed with this application. It's all a subdivision. So those comments we can comply with. I have one witness, Mr. Chairman, that I plan on calling. It's our professional surveyor, Matt Sippel with Langen. He will come, describe the subdivision proposal, how it conforms with the ordinance. I'm just going to talk loud. He's going to testify on how the subdivision will conform with the ordinance, where the lot line is being drawn, so you can see the demarcation of how K15 will be on one lot, and the 3 buildings that I mentioned before will be on the other lot.
Or none of them on any lot.
Is that better? It is. Okay. So again, this is about the existing buildings that are located on the property. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to call my first witness, my only witness, Matt Sippel from Langen. Do you have a separate mic for him? So I'm going to give him a mic. Okay. That way people can hear him.
Selling on this community.
All right, let me just share a copy, reduce a copy of the exhibits I'm about to show you. Get those around.
So, Mr. Sippel, while you're doing that, can I just swear you
Oh, yes.
in? And board engineer and planner, do you all swear in the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, just go through his credentials.
Yeah, I'll. So Matt, if you can give the board the benefit of your professional credentials as a licensed surveyor, license is held, educational background, and experience testifying before similar boards in the state of New Jersey.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman and Board. So my name is Matthew Sipple. I am a professional licensed land surveyor in the state of New Jersey. Graduated from NJIT in 2009 and I've been licensed since 2012. Presented in front of other boards and other counties, including this board here.
And now your license is current and in good standing?
Yes, current and in good standing, just renewed.
That's fine, Mr. Sibley, you can proceed.
Thank you.
So Matt, if you could just identify the plan that you're coming to the board, go over the existing conditions, and then describe the proposed subdivision.
Sorry. Nobody on this level, so I can see that.
So we can't see that. Yeah, you go front.
My cord is only so long.
I know, but we can't see it. We don't have copies.
So what I'm showing here is our minor subdivision plan for the property. We are showing, so tonight we are dealing with, looking at the property as Jason had indicated, the 71.6 acre property on the southwesterly side of the entire campus, the former Merck campus. So as it currently stands, it is one lot owned by our client, Kenilworth Corporate Property. And on Exhibit B, we are showing what the proposed lot is.
Matt, before you flip, I think council, you should mark that as A1, because that was, we put the gray markings on that to identify the different parcels. So you should just mark that A1 with today's date.
Okay.
All right, so now if you can describe what's on this sheet, and let's mark this sheet as A2 as well. And Matt, all these plans and exhibits that you're showing were prepared by your office?
Yes, all these plans and exhibits were prepared by our office under my professional supervision. So this right here on exhibit, what we call Exhibit B or 8-2, is showing what the proposed lot configuration will be for the Kenilworth Corporate Properties property. They will retain the approximately 60 acre, 59.5 acre property, and outlined in blue is the proposed lot, which is just shy of 12 acres, consisting of nest or A1, 5, and 6, and a small parking.
And do the proposed lots comply with the ordinance requirements?
Yes, the proposed lots do comply with the proposed
Okay. And are there easements and access ways to get from each of the lots to the public right-of-way, Galloping Hill Road?
Yes, there are. There are lots of easements to this property. Prior occupant, which was Merck, had a lot of their own utilities, and when they moved out, ownership has changed, and there are a lot of existing easements for access and utilities, and there are a few proposed easements that we're proposing as part of a minor subdivision for various access and utilities.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to review, there were two reports that we received from the board of professionals. One was from Higher Bruin Associates dated August 3rd, 2026. Did you have the ability to review that report?
Yes, I did.
Okay, can you comply with all the comments that were therein?
Yes, we will comply with all those comments.
Okay. Did you also have the opportunity to review the August 3rd, 2026 report prepared by Center State Engineering?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you comply with the comments set forth from that letter?
Yes.
All right. And are all those comments essentially minor clarifications, technical comments that you can prepare by way of a plan review?
Yes. And we have the field crew going out there to set the one property corner.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I know it sounds very straightforward, but that's really the application. It's a fully conforming subdivision. We're drawing a lot line to create two conforming lots, and the existing buildings are remain. There's no site plan proposed for this application.
That's your full testimony from the surveyor?
Yeah, we're happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
quite, Mr. Mazzio, do you have any questions or anything that you need to have clarified? I'm sorry, Mr. Mazzio is on my board. Mr. Mazzi, excuse me.
So the applicant has testified that they are going to comply with our technical review comments, so that portion is okay, as well as the outbound property corner. They need to set in order to separate the two properties.
And as stipulated, we will do that.
So you will comply with everything in that document?
Correct.
Is that me?
I got the broken one, so.
Want to give it back to you?
No, it's okay. I'll just speak out later.
You can take this.
I can use this. Okay. All right, as specified, the applicant is willing to comply with the items we noted in our August 2026 memorandum. Mr. Duval, could you just put it on record that this applicant is the designated developer?
That is correct for lot 1.0101.
Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. DeMarco?
No questions on it.
Okay, does the board want to hold their comments until after we okay, so, we heard their testimony, does the board, the entire board want to hold their comments until after we vote?
Literally going to focus in your hold your comments.
So,
How dare you.
just so we understand the comments, this is an application for a subdivision, right? This is an actual hearing, so all questions of this witness or comments are on the application for a subdivision for these two lots. Once we're done with that application, then we move on to the agenda for regular comments from the public. So if anyone gets up and starts asking questions about other lots or poor weed or things of that, I'm going to stop you because that is not the appropriate time. I'm not cutting you off.
So when is?
I just said it and I'll say it one more time. We're going to open it up for public questions of this witness regarding his testimony as to the subdivision or comments on the subdivision. Not comments on four-way data centers, use of properties, or anything of that. This is an application for a subdivision only. When the application is done, the board will offer their opinion or vote on it, they will ask their questions, then we move on to the next part of the agenda, which is public comment. At that point in time, the public can come up and comment on anything that related to the Kenilworth Planning Board. All right, so I don't want anyone to get upset. If you go astray, I'm just going to ask you to stop and come back.
So you're gonna approve it before, you're saying?
No.
We're not-
Okay, so I want to
You don't
say
have to
this.
talk like you're kindergarten, just say.
No, I just wanna know, are you gonna approve it before?
So we're going to conclude the hearing.
So approving it.
We're going to conclude the hearing and take a vote.
Then you can talk, so it's already approved, you're gonna take a vote.
Okay, I'm not doing that. So does anyone from the public have any questions?
Before we do that, we have to make a motion. So someone needs to make a motion to open.
I make a motion to open the hearing to the public.
Motion made by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Clementi, all in favor?
So they,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think maybe I can help a little bit with just clarifying. So right now, just so I'm aware also, you're asking the public to come up and if there's any specific questions on Mr. Sibley's testimony, they can ask those questions, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
That's our normal procedure.
I understand. Once that's done, then somebody can comment on the application if they would like as well, or during that process, correct?
Right? Yes.
Okay. Then the board will act, how it will act on the application. And then, so I just want to know for my own benefit, then after the case is concluded, no matter how the board votes, then you have a separate part of your agenda where you just allow comments on anything that the public would like to comment.
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood. Okay.
That is correct.
Shouldn't be like that.
So the matter has been open to the public. Does anyone have questions of this witness? Questions of this witness first, before we do comments on the application. Does anyone have a question of the surveyor?
Yes, okay, but we can't see that, so I have a question. Is the left side of that drawing Gallatin Hill Road, and the bottom is the Parkway? Is that
Yes.
correct? That's
Yes.
correct. So, and you're talking about the sections down in the lower right-hand corner, right?
Correct.
With the lots that you want subdivided?
Yes.
Okay. And there's office structures on there now, that's what is going to remain, am I?
No, that's okay, that's a perfect question. That is correct. Correct.
And office structures meaning bodies, people in there, secretaries, corporate headquarters, things like that, right?
That is correct.
And it'll stay like that and it's not finished sold. Or you have to sell it?
Yeah, I'll repeat what I said, that's okay. So our client has a potential buyer for the one property to occupy the 3 buildings as corporate offices. Executive office, administrative, those types of functions.
But not to grow.
That is correct.
So the only other thing about this, the egress and it's going to be out through Leading Locks to Gallatin Hill Road.
Yeah, Matt, can you just explain how you get from, no, that's fine, it's a good question. Can you just explain how the access works from the, I guess, our client's property to Gallatin Hill Road?
Yes, there's numerous driveway easements throughout the campus. Gallatin Hill Road is the main entrance into and out of the property. So the assumption is they're going to still be traveling on those roads to get out to Gallatin.
Okay, having lived in a couple blocks away from there for 46 years, when Sharon was there, when Merck was there, that does generate a lot of vehicular traffic in the residential neighborhood on the other side of Gallatin Hill Road. Because people use it as a cut through to, off the main roads to get to the Parkway, to get to 22. And they, I mean, you guys are from Kenilworth, that entrance is really close to the Union and Kenilworth. And all those cars go through the street I live on and I know, okay? There's nothing really to do about that, just stuff like that. Okay, you know, but the concern is, we've been told a lot of different stories from different people, from different boards, from senators, from congressmen, and we're afraid of getting the true story of this stuff. You know, is it really going to stay just an office, or is somebody applying for it, and down the road, you know who owns it, and things are on here that create more problems? I think that's why most of us are here tonight. Anyway, thank you.
Anyone else have questions for this witness? Questions for the witness? If you want to state your name, you're free to, just make it more helpful.
Hi, I'm Robin Horn, and I just have a question. Is this for application 26-003? Am I getting the wrong application? The wrong application?
No, this is.
It is 03. So who determined which requirements for a complete application for the
So, my understanding in Kenilworth, every town is a little different. The MOU allows the town to have different procedures for how they deem applications complete. But my understanding is the engineer and the planner, for the board deeming the application.
So on the board?
The board professionals, Ms. Apti and
And then one other question, why was the development impact statement waived?
So when you do a development impact statement, it's typically done with a site plan where you're proposing new buildings, where you're proposing stormwater, where you're proposing development. So here, it's only a lot line drawn on a piece of paper. There's no actual development being proposed. If a site plan were to come forward at some point, just not on this property, but anywhere in Kenilworth, then perhaps a development impact analysis would be required because of those things that you mentioned, lighting, landscaping, stormwater, things like that. But because here, it's just a lot line.
I'm just trying to be clear. So the smaller portion already has buildings. You're just trying to get new tenants in there.
Yeah, I think a fair characterization. I'll just make it I'll just clarify it a little bit. Sure. So if the client is keeping that property, then you're correct, there would be tenants. So for the bigger parcel that we're maintaining, those would be tenants, like Revlon is in there now, because we own and lease for that, right? But if we're selling that, then it would be to a new buyer that would then, which both would be here to occupy it themselves as office occupants.
So it definitely is offices. It's not any sort of data center, but you're selling it to somebody else, and then they're going to lease it to somebody else. And we don't know who the leaser is?
And I know it's not popular when I say that I can't tell you who it is, and I'm sorry that I can't. But no, the intent is for the new buyer to occupy it themselves, for that corporation to occupy it themselves.
And how can you trust that? Like,
So, and again, this is the unpopular thing to say. As part of the subdivision, you don't even have to get into what the uses are, but understanding municipal and people are very interested in what's going on here.
Concern for it.
I don't need to speak for anybody else. I didn't need to do that. I just wanted to give some information and background as to what it would be, as opposed to just saying it's a subdivision and not talking about anything. But yes, the goal here is for somebody to purchase that 12 acres and occupy it themselves as offices.
so, and it would be promised as office space. Like if they wanted to change their mind, then they would have to have a new application.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on this application?
Hello, yes, I do have some questions. I'm sorry, I couldn't see the map from where I was sitting, so I am going to ask for some repetition. Could you please kind of point to where Galvin Hill Road is and to the parts that are being divided?
So Galvin Hill Road is over here, and the property that's being subdivided out is right here.
Okay, so right now, this lot 1.01, it's entirely dependent on the surrounding lots for basic street access?
Yes.
Okay. And so by subdividing this and making it appear as if it's separate, it's really not. You have to make it separate. You're asking for variances to put roads in, is that what you're doing?
No, there's no variance being proposed.
There's no variances. Can I ask you a question then, please? I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know how to read these things. But over here in the letter from your attorneys, it says the applicant seeks any submission, waivers, exceptions, waivers, design waivers, variances, interpretations, de minimis expectations, modifications of conditions of prior approvals. It kind of sounds to me like you're asking for a blank, carte blanche. Could you explain that to me?
Absolutely. So I think I should explain that because I wrote that. So when notices go out under the municipal land use law, all these, every attorney does it, if they do it in paper or now it's online, in paper. But they have what's called the catch-all language, and that's what that is. So that is not asking for a blank slate. What that means is, So when I file the application, whenever I do, the board professionals will respond. So I don't think I need any variances, right, when I file this. Go through with my team, we don't think any variances, right? But the board professionals may come up with something in their letters later on in the process, before the meeting, that I was unaware of. That could happen. Hopefully doesn't, but that could happen. So that's why I put that language in there. Here, though, the board professionals did agree when they reviewed our application that we did not need any variances. So that language is just in case the board finds something, but the board professionals reviewed and concurred with what we stated. So we are not asking for any variances, nor are we asking for some clean slate of approvals or anything like that. We did need variances. Now or in the future, we have to apply for them and come back, something along those lines. Sure.
Well, I want to thank you for answering my question. And I just want to share that, as I shared in the meeting on April 28th, I find this personally very disturbing. And you know why we're saying that. So we're very disturbed by what's going on. We don't trust it. Thank you.
My name is Quentin Rodriguez Harrison, County Board President, 3 years. So my question for you, from what I'm hearing so far, is to make sure that I understand. So right now, it's just basically marking up a we're selling. Another owner to pick up this property. There's existing buildings. They're going to be used for commercial, like offices, whatnot. Right? That's already there. My question to you is, well, sorry, just say it again. If there was anything else to change there, another submission would have to happen. Another application would go out if there was anything to change. Maybe one more question. So basically, what I'm trying to figure out is, if there's another application that has to happen for any changes, is there any guarantee that the purchaser can't just go and say, we're just buying this area, we're going to put people, put tenants into these structures, and then 2 years down the line, say, you know what, we're going to knock this down and build something else here? Would they have to submit something in order to do that? I want to make sure something is just like all-inclusive that can just happen without anybody knowing.
They want to interrupt you. You're good? So yes, so to answer your question, that in 2 years or whatever time frame you're talking about, somebody proposes to knock down a structure and build a new one, your ordinance, the way it reads, would require someone to come back to the board, notify the residents, and go through a whole hearing process.
Thank you. Just want to get clarification on that, so we know how everything works. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
With the same concept that we talked about, someone coming in, selling it, and then they're going to do something different, would it be able to be put into a contract that they could never make a data center there? They've done it with a house in saying that if they had stipulations on a house that they did with apartments and stuff, why couldn't it be in the contract from Kenmore saying nobody could ever build a data center there, even if you sell it?
There's some confidence in the house.
No, it would be.
They're all telling the truth.
So the board, I know you're not going to like this answer. I'm sorry.
It's okay, no, I'm not,
I'm just telling you. The board does not deal with transactional issues in either stream. But to answer what the other gentleman asked before, though, is that if somebody were to ever change the use of the property, they would have to come back to the board and see it. Trigger site plan approval.
yeah, I don't know.
You've been there, done that.
Yeah. And I have one more question. You said, was it 5 and 6? You said it was going to be offices, but then you said other structures. What are the other structures? Yeah, other structures.
No.
A data center office or like an office that is also a data center?
Jason, just answer my question.
Okay.
So what I said, if I wasn't clear, I'm sorry. On the, you see that like the odd-shaped new lot?
Yeah.
Okay. There are 3 main buildings on that property. It's K1, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Those are the main buildings. That's the 530,000
square feet that I said the buyer would be occupying.
Okay.
All I said was there's other structures on that property. I think there's like storage facilities and things like that.
Oh, that's what I wanted.
That's all I meant by
Okay.
when I
Well,
said.
yeah, that's right, I just wanted to know what they were, exactly what other structures were. Okay, all right, thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, so my own question, I might already know the answer to this. I am interested about the freshwater wetlands letter of interpretation from NJDEP. If the applicant is planning on getting another letter of interpretation for freshwater wetlands for the site, and if so, or if not, why not?
So a freshwater wetlands permit will usually be obtained when you're building a structure. So you have to verify where the wetlands are, verify that you're respecting whatever, if there's any buffer requirements that are necessary, setbacks. Here, again, we're just subdividing, there's no development proposed, but we would not need to do that.
And just for clarification, since a LOI was previously required for this site, are there wetlands on either of the subdivision?
Matt, do you know the answer to that question?
No, I do not know if there was an LOI.
I do, and I know where it is.
But regardless, there's no development proposed. That would be, I just want everybody to go here. If there is development proposed, then the engineer would revisit whether or not there's any need to look at whether to help fresh LOI is needed.
So then, if not, neither of you are the ones to ask if there's wetlands, does the planning board know if there are wetlands on the site? So just like to clarify.
So again, that's not the subject of this hearing. The subject of this hearing is the subdivision.
It's related.
If they come forward back to do any development, that would be a question that would have to be raised. But that this application does not trigger that requirement.
So can I just clarify for the public here? In terms of wetlands, as you're saying, there's development as part of my site plan review. There would be a request for a new LOI first to determine where the wetlands and buffers are, and we would see where they're disturbed and see if there's an impact to it. But in terms of what they're doing here, there's no development, so there would be no impact for wetlands. I was at the previous board engineer to review this, but I see a large drainage structure in the middle. There's most likely a wetland and a buffer off of there, if I had to guess. And then there's also the creek as well. But again, that's something that when they do a development plan, we look at it at that point to see if it's going to affect the environmental constraints at that point.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Senator Ed Rodriguez from the City of Elizabeth. Good evening, Senator Ed Rodriguez from the City of Elizabeth. Just a couple of questions about the map over here. How many lots will there be if the proposed subdivision does go through? My eyes are on, what do you call it? Really can't see it over here.
There will be 2 lots on this.
Overall for the whole site, right? Because originally it was lot 1.01.
Let me just clarify everything because I think nuance there. I just want to make sure everybody's getting the right answer. Okay. So there's 2 ways to answer that question. Okay, here we go. The first answer is right now, I know there was a prior subdivision on this property, whatever it was, April and May of this year. From my understanding, that has not been perfected yet, meaning a map hasn't been filed with the county clerk's office. Okay? If that happens, that's up to the developer to do, not us, but whoever got that approval, that's up to them. If they do that, then my understanding is the gray that you see there is now 4 lots. That's my, okay? Then, if ours goes through,
you would have 2, so it would be a total of 6. If they do not perfect that subdivision, again, I don't know where they stand with that. If they do not, then it would just be 3. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
And also, to be clear, all the permitted uses survive any subdivisions, correct? The permitted uses under the redevelopment plan, including various ones?
You are correct that the subdivision is not that.
Thank you.
Obviously not.
My name is Emma, I'm a resident. I have a question, it's about the application, but I'd like to direct it to the board. So in the application where they have to disclose which companies hold 10% or more interest, there are 2 companies. The first is MIG Kenilworth LLC, and the second is AIMRK HQ LLC. And there's not much information about these companies online, and in the application, their addresses are both listed as the same address. The suite numbers appear to be cut off. And there's not much information online. I actually looked on a database to see the tenant listing for that building that we stated, and neither of these companies are listed as tenants in that building. So my question is, has any investigation been done into the additional companies that hold interest? And are you able to provide the full addresses to those 2 companies since they're cut off on the application? And if you are not, will you consider tabling the vote until you're able to do your due diligence and find that information?
So the 2 companies, or one company is Onyx Kenilworth, the other one is MIG.
The first one was MIG Kenilworth LLC, and the second one was AIMRK HQ LLC.
And according to the disclosure ownership form, those both have the same address, which is 90 Woodbridge Center Drive, Suite 505, Woodbridge, New Jersey.
Okay. So there's 2 companies, they both have the exact same address, and that doesn't feel sketchy to anyone?
It's not uncommon for properties to be owned by multiple LLCs or trusts, or things of that nature, especially properties that are this large.
Well, properties, yeah, but I actually work in commercial real estate. It's not very common for 2 companies to have the exact same, 2 different companies to have the exact same suite number. Building, yes, suite number.
You asked what their addresses were, those are the addresses on this.
Okay, and my other question was, has any investigation been done into these companies?
The answer is going to be no.
Thank you for putting that on the record.
Can you all be up there?
Any other questions of this witness regarding the application?
Okay, this is Don, if I do something wrong. If you don't mind, CoreWeave is not involved anymore, and like he was saying, the 59 acres, this is a division of the 12 acres off the 59 acres. He's saying that the 59 acres would be off of the space, they're not, they would have to change their application to make something different. And the third part would be, you were saying something about the
the office. So you understand the three things I'm kind of answering?
I'll do my best. CoreWeave is not part of this. Okay? So that was one thing you asked. Just to clarify, the parcel that we're subdividing is 71 acres. The applicant would be retaining 59, approximately 59.6. That's where the large building is, all the way to the right of the plan. See that? And then the gray is CoreWeave. That's right. The gray is CoreWeave. Yeah, sorry if that wasn't clear. The gray is CoreWeave. That's not part of the application. The white that's surrounding, that's the 59 that the redeveloper retains, and that hex, I don't even want to know what we call that shape, but that odd shaped square with with all those right angles, you see that in the middle? That would be the 12-acre parcel that would be sold to a office user. Right?
You're saying that the 12 thing is right now going to be office.
3 offices now, it would be 3 office buildings when it's subdivided.
And the experts would have to do a new application.
100%.
So if I could ask, because I don't need to speak into the area. So the CoreWeave at this point could all 59 acres could all be made dead.
59 acres could all be made data.
Yes.
No. I don't know. I have no idea what CoreWeave is doing. That's on the gray parcel. Yeah, that's for that. I don't know what they're doing. I represent CoreWeave. They would have to come back to this board if they want to build something.
So in other words, if they wanted to build something, they have to come back.
Yes, just like any property, commercial property owner in New Jersey or in town. So if you build the ground up, you have to get a site plan approval.
And if you don't mind me, just I don't need to start the outline thing on the bottom there with all the funny corners. Well, that, what is that?
Matt, can you just explain, just outline where the 12-acre parcel is?
Yeah, the 12-acre parcel is outlined in blue right here. And there's 3 buildings, A1, A5, and A6.
And that's going to be all office.
That's correct.
And that's the division. That was all office, 72.
That's it, yes. Any other questions or comments?
My name's Renee from Walton Ave. So I just want to identify lots within 200 feet of the site. And I just want to mention on record that the way that this process went down from the notice for us residents to receive was terrible. The process of the information for those within the 200 feet, the notice for this meeting was postmarked on August 5th. The notice was then stuffed, the notice paper was then stuffed in the mailbox. We found it Wednesday, August 18th. It was marked with LN, August 10th, meaning that the notice was left on August 10th. That's 5 days that it's sent into the post office. I understand you guys can't control what the post office does, but there should be more urgency to send this because this meeting caused a lot of panic, and one way to prevent that is to make sure those residents, those few residents within 250 feet, get that notice as soon as possible, so we can come from an educated standpoint instead of causing mass hysteria where we think there's additional data centers coming. Agreed? Also want to say, so then we request, this podium is terrible, by the way. So CoreWeave, the attorneys, wherever you guys are, this podium is too short. It's going to give everybody who comes to speak a back problem.
all right? So get it a little higher, a little taller, because everybody you see comes here is like this. This is terrible. Back problems, hip problems. So I also want to say, it's okay, thank you for holding it, I appreciate you. Before we couldn't do better with the podium height. So we then requested on the app for delivery for Saturday, August 15th at 10 a.m. And there was a window. Our household and the household next door, we both put it for the same day, same time. It was never delivered on Saturday, 10 a.m. So Monday comes around, you have to take off of work to go to the post office and get this notice in hand. So that gives us August 17th that we get the notice. Today is August 20th. That gives us 3 days as informed residents to be here. Is that enough time? Okay, thank you. So I just also want to read something. Guys, if you could quiet down, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here with this mass hysteria. Like, we are a concerned community. And I hope you guys can appreciate that. So there was an article that was out about Still Bright selects next for global headquarters. Let me just entertain you guys for a quick story time. Clean tech startup Still Bright is establishing its global headquarters at the, we'll say, NEST, Northeast Science and Tech Center in Kenilworth. The recent announcement marks the next phase of its growth as the company prepares to scale its copper extraction technology toward pilot manufacturing. Okay? So, with pilot manufacturing, with these data centers, they're going to give off infrared sound, infrasound. So, that is a sound that cannot be blocked out through walls, through trees that Ryan has kindly offered union residents, okay? That sound cannot be blocked out. If you walk out this room, you won't be able to hear me speak as well. You walk outside, you're not going to hear me. Those infrasound, it's still going to affect everybody. It's going to affect everybody's health, mental stability. You think this is bad? Wait until we come back with the data center. We're going to continue to come here. Okay, I know some of you guys are moving or not going to be on this board going forward. We're still going to be here. Okay? So with that said, with the amount of pollutants that these diesel generators are going to cause from the data center, I know they said, oh, they're there for a test. If you look at Sterling, Virginia, their test is still going on for a year later. So if the test is a year long, let me just talk about the pollution. I promise I have a point.
I understand that, but it has to be related to the subject.
It is.
I just want to make sure we were on track.
Thank you. So, with that said, the amount of pollutant that these diesel generators from the data centers are going to cause, when mixed with moisture in the air is always there. So, with the pollutants coming from the diesel generators, it's going to cause things as nitrogen oxides, carbonic acid, sulfuric acid. When mixed with Still Bright's copper extraction technology, what kind of more pollutants is that going to cause for the residents and for the people that are going to be working at that new subdivide? Do we know? Do we have any environmental study of all these things mixing together at that site? The environmental part is so concerning. I know, is anyone here on this planning board or any of the attorneys an environmental expert? If you can raise your hand.
Aware of any type of environmental science would be great.
You have a reusable water bottle? I just want to make that noted. There's no environmental expert on this board. There's a lot going on at that site that is over all of our heads, guys. We need experts to come in here and really evaluate these things. So you have the gray part, that's where the data centers are going to be, and it's noted there's intent to have 3 data centers with at least 31 diesel generators, potentially 93. And then the additional pollutants coming potentially from Still Bright, that combination.
I understand.
Is there a way that we can look into that for our future, for our air?
So, one of the reasons why we went into executive session, not disclosing everything, was to talk about the retention of additional experts for future applications. What type of experts, and get permission to go out and find them. So that was a discussion that this board did have. Okay? But to bring it back to why we're here today, we're here for a subdivision, and that's the issue.
That's the only thing you're going to do, right? I can hear concern on my head. The
Yeah.
subdivide.
All right, so thank you for your comments. I just want to let you know that what does recognize the complexity of future applications that may be before this board, and we are trying to prepare for that future.
And if there's any way that maybe we can talk to CoreWeave, because at their site up in Orangeburg, they are paying for a firm called AKRF. It's an environmental firm in New York City. They have offices in New Jersey as well. They are doing their environmental impact study. They have a presentation in Orangeburg next week. I will be there. But if there's a way that you guys can maybe retroactively have hearts and be like, all right, guys, what are we doing to the environment? Is there any way that we can kind of look back and compare their study to what's going to be happening here? I know, but thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diana. So I have a quick question. I know you're saying that the subdivision is intended for office space, but I have a question. Technically speaking, your client and the prospective purchaser has the right to build a data center on these sites, correct? Technically speaking.
I think some of the other members of the public to bring that up. You're right, it's a permitted use on the community development. You are correct, though. But what I said, another gentleman earlier who brought that up was you would have to come back to the board because they likely need site plan approval. So any changes, like I said earlier, happen to the site, you would have to come back in front of the board. But you are right about
So technically speaking, they can,
they would have to seek permission from the planning.
but they can.
It is a permitted use of the
Yes.
development.
So yes.
No, it's fine. I'm used to it. She's much fine. Yes. So it's sort of a two-pronged question, and I don't know if you could answer it or you guys could answer it. And it does bring in a previous application of yours, but as it relates to this application, has the borough's tax map been updated as requested in the minor subdivision 25-002?
I don't.
Yeah.
The subdivision map has been filed with the county, and it is, I believe there are separate tax lots that have been created. I don't know, the borough, and I don't know if Darren or Alvika can answer this, but every town has a different process on how often they update its own tax map. So I don't know what that was updated.
It was requested of you to update it in 25-002 to pay the and request it from the county.
Yeah, we filed our map.
Oh, you're fine then. Okay, so we don't know what, is this one, now this is where it ties back in, is this going to address the tax map again?
Okay. Somebody can jump in. But every time you subdivide a parcel, it doesn't matter if it's this one or two little residential homes, you subdivide, the tax map for the borough gets modified at some point. It's up to the, usually it's the borough engineer that updates the tax map. It wouldn't be the applicant. The applicants just record their deeds or plats with the county. And then the borough's map, they do that themselves. If anyone wants to chime in.
No, you're,
I guess will it be requested that the same process follows in this one? That's for you.
If this is approved,
Oh, it would be on approval. Yeah.
if this is approved, there's no choice. There's a map filing law, there's a subdivision statute. We have to file that state law, we have to do that.
Got it. And then under the items required for a complete application, there was nothing listed for the payment of property taxes. Is there a proof of payment?
That was provided, and I believe even before the application, there's a lot of emails on this. I believe the taxes were made current for whatever quarter is required, but we can double check that.
Are we able to
tabled until we get an answer on that?
No, actually, there's, if you look at the approximately tax form paid, you make it a condition of approval, but they have been paid. Yeah, I mean, we have to pay our taxes, but I believe they are paid, because I think that was asked of us, but I'll double check them. Usually, they won't let you proceed as for the taxes aren't.
And also in the technical review portion of this, if this application is approved, one of the conditions is a pass through to pay your taxes before the board signs the bottom. So there will be a confirmation.
If I may answer that, as part of the checklist, they are required to provide that, we ask for that, and that has been provided.
All right, it wasn't in what I was able to review as a public, member. There were like blank slates, but, yeah.
You know what I can do that might be helpful, and going forward, is that application. We submit like a hard copy to the board, it's required. Then sometimes the board secretary will ask for a follow-up with like the drive link. We usually just provide them with the application and maps and reports. So sometimes there's ancillary things that will file hard copy, you might not have made it onto that. So I can update that if the board requests.
Also, just to confirm, if you look at, it should be part of public record, the entire dual sources of this whole letter. There is.
Could you repeat that, sorry?
When materials reviewed, under materials review heading, the last item you see, it says 4 pages of Borough of Kenilworth certificate of paid taxes, dated January 7th, 2026.
Beautiful, that was actually a follow-up question that I had, and then I think I had one more. Sorry, okay, so there was mention of technical review comments that were to be addressed, and you said you guys addressed them. That's cool. Is there a way for the public to view that?
So that's actually a good question for a lot of people. So what happens is Aaron and Malvika will issue letters to both the August 3rd, so you can get those from the board secretary, and see what those comments are. They can see what the initial comments were, and then when if the application is approved, one of the conditions in the resolution will be that we have to comply with those, and then we have to refile plans to comply with that, and that actually goes to other questions, see, it's all coming together. To get the plat signed and filed with the county, you asked about earlier, they have to verify that we did all those things. That's how the process gets completed.
How do you spell plat?
PLAT.
P-L-A-T. What? Great.
If I got that wrong, I can't do it again.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
I just want to say, in regards to any future notices, if you can, whoever does the notice, creates a notice, you create the notice, can you please put the date on the notice? Because on the notice itself, there's no, I can show you guys pictures front and back right now, there's not a single date on that notice. The only dates is a postmark on the envelope I can show you right now.
You mean the...
On the notice that's sent out. 200 feet now.
Any other questions or comments related to this application?
Can I ask one more, is that all right?
Yeah, of course, is that, but I'm not sure you know. I can show you that as well.
Okay, so now that, if I'm wrong, please correct me. That the gas center down the road is permitted use on those 2 lots, right? I know they have to be flagged all that stuff, but that's.
Tony, if I may, it's a little difficult to hear you as that conversation is going on. So as soon as you're done, can you repeat your question, please?
Sorry.
Jason, that's okay. I mean, that's all very complicated.
Getting younger every day. So, if I am saying something incorrect, please correct me. From what was the questions that you answered, I now understand that down the road, the data center is permitted use of these lots if they go through the process of reapplying all that, correct?
Yeah, so, just again to
Okay, no, I got it.
No. I also wanted to add one layer to that I did not say. Because this is in a redevelopment area, part of the redevelopment process is they first have to refer to the council that whatever new project we propose, that the council, kind of like not the planning board, serves as a redevelopment entity. So if we were going to build something new, we would have to first go there and then come back.
Correct.
That's one feature.
Okay, gotcha, but it is a permitted use. So, with that being said, now these two different companies that have the same address and the same street, okay, just to make sure I understand you correct, you're gonna vote on whether you approve this application or not before you do any investigation to find out if these two companies are owned by relatives of Four Leaf, subdivisions of Four Leaf. You're going to vote on this tonight before you do gain any knowledge about who these two companies are. Is that correct?
The ownership is not a factor
That is negligent.
in the subdivision, right? What they have to do is disclose not just the one owner, but every 10%, right? So it appears that there is one owner that has 3 LLCs, right? And traditionally, that could be just related entities, right? But the applicant attorney has stated, and I have asked, that the current owner of this property is not an affiliate or has any ownership interest by Four Leaf. I think you can say that on camera.
Okay, so I will say that the question, right, nobody did ask. Applicants, no way affiliated with Four Leaf.
On record.
Yeah.
Not affiliated on record, that you know.
They are not affiliated on record with Four Leaf. The applicant, Kenilworth Corporate, is not affiliated with Four Leaf. Okay. Now, you're asking me something else too. Because this is a redevelopment area, again, we get more into the weeds. If there's a transfer of ownership to the redevelopment entity of a certain percentage, it has to be disclosed to the project. So the ownership is vetted by the borough and the borough's council as part of the process. Okay? But there is no affiliation with the owner. My client, or Venus, they're not related companies or affiliated with each other in any way, shape, or form.
That you are aware of. In business, there's a lot of way to hide a lot of things, you all know that. I'm not suggesting anything illegal, I'm just saying.
I can only say what I've known and verified, that's it.
Understood. I get your point. But that's okay. But you should get mine too, and it's nothing against you. But there's ways of doing things on paper and in writing to hide things, and it's been done before. So that's what we're concerned about. Nothing against you, you've been very patient, you explained everything, I appreciate that, the way you went about it, and even this board tonight. But how do we know things aren't going to go south down the road again? Nobody can guarantee that of us, and that's what we're looking for. So again, my question is, you're going to vote on this tonight, whether you approve or not, this application, before you know more about who the owners are, or any investigation. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the township entered into a redevelopment agreement, the applicant, right? And that township, in that redevelopment agreement, there is sections about transfer, should we redevelop it, sell a portion of one of these three companies to someone else buy, or anything of that nature. have to come back to the town, or the borough, and say, hey, we need your permission, we want to sell it to X, Y, Z, and they have to disclose it, right?
What I'm trying to get at is what they don't need to sell it, because there's an underhand connection to it.
That was not, I know you're.
We have reason to
I
be back.
understand, you don't know me, so. And I get it, but all I can tell you is what I verified and what I know.
Understood. Don't feel you do
I'm short, I'm good. Okay, is there a way that we could actually, what's the process of telling them they cannot sell it to an AI or a data center or change it to a data center? What's the process of putting that into a contract? Because if we're so confident none of this is happening, which, we're doubtful, because what would happen? For the people, I would think we'd say, no, this is not going to happen. We're not going to allow it. We put it in the contract. So what's the process of doing that?
This board doesn't do the transaction.
Who doesn't?
Right, so the designation of the developer or the redeveloper is done at the council level, right? And they deal with the transactional part. Who gets designated the redeveloper, they deal with the redeveloper's agreement, and all those contract-like things. What this board does is limited in scope. It really deals with the application and whether, once the zoning is in place, whether or not what comes before us is permissible.
So you're dealing with just the land. The council is more of what they're doing on the land?
Not that clean, but the council designates the developer who would come in. So in this case, the applicant was designated and signed a redeveloper's agreement. And in that redeveloper's agreement, there were conditions and things that talk about rehab of buildings and potential subdivisions for office use.
Okay, it's office use, that's one thing, but you give me a good help. We have an opportunity to go back to the council and ask to have this done. Does the public have that opportunity? Can we put this on hold, see what they will do, and then go forward? I think we should have the opportunity.
So this is what I would suggest.
I mean, if you're not all okay with this.
Let me just make a suggestion, because I understand the concern. All this board does, I know nobody wants to hear it, is look to see if
I
if we
understand.
subdivide it, does it comply?
But I want to know where to go forward.
I'm going to help you with that.
Okay.
Once we subdivide this tract and the property is sold, 12 acres we talked about, not the 50, not the 12, okay? Any new purchaser will have to enter into a redevelopment agreement with the borough. It would be a contract with the borough.
Yeah, but
Let me finish. If that's where you want to, I don't know what the borough's going to do, I don't know. That's up to them. But if you want to express comment or concern about future development there, what that contract should say, you should talk to the borough council about it, because they're going to have the jurisdiction over a redevelopment agreement going forward on that project. All this board does is look at the subdivision, that's it.
I
So people
understand.
are legally binded and not allowed to respond to us because the attorney will not allow them to speak to us. What do we do with that? Who do we speak to?
Just to address comments from the podium.
Okay,
and not-
Okay, so when the council.
A left turn. not a right.
Yeah, so when the council refuses to answer questions, that's the game we're playing now, who do we escalate that to? There has to be an escalation guide here. When they refuse to answer a question, when we ask this question, who do we go to above them? Because that's what's gonna happen, we know that.
I don't know, all I can tell
Well,
you.
watch last night's meeting, you'll
All I
understand.
can tell you is if there's anything in front of the council, go there and make a comment.
No,
when they refuse to, well, I'm sorry, but this is the way it's happening here. When they refuse to answer our question or our problem, like that we want this in a contract, and they just sit there or they walk out, who do we go to above them?
So ordinances and resolutions that are adopted by council.
My question is, when we get nowhere with them, who do we go to above them?
So
Is it the state, the county?
my answer is that when they to take action, the council has to pass a resolution or an ordinance. Those ordinances, the public can go to the court and say they were not done properly, they were not done with a challenge, if there were issues with it, or things of that nature. So to answer your question, that is where a person would go to say, hey, you changed the speed limit, you didn't do it properly, you didn't do something, and they go to court and they say what they did, they didn't follow the rules.
I understand that, in a perfect world. But we're not in a perfect world, and like you're having dialogue. They said, we will not have dialogue. And they're gonna say, if they do have dialogue, I can guarantee you, I'll bet you anything, they're gonna tell us to. Because that's their scapegoat. So, I guess we would have to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to sit. I mean, I don't know where, I'm just asking, when they don't answer us, where do we go?
Then that's the best answer I can give.
Which court? Can you tell me which court? Tell me which court.
I guess, the county courthouse in Elizabeth? We
We
can open
just-
up, I mean, I don't know, I'm
All right.
just asking a simple
All right.
question.
But we're not talking about this application.
No, I'm asking, how do we guarantee it doesn't turn into a data center? Because you already slid that one in, good job. But how do we prevent this from happening again? I don't want to wait for it to happen and then we're out there with signs and going crazy. How do we prevent it so we don't have problems? By preventing it, by saying, yes, we'll put it in a contract, this is the way to do it.
Okay, so.
But you're telling me to go to the council.
No, what I'm saying to you is that this board can't limit it in a contract that doesn't have that ability.
You're saying council.
What I'm also, again, I'm not gonna take comments from someone who's not an elected employee. Anyone else?
Yeah, go, what?
So we talked earlier about MIG Kenilworth LLC and AIMRK HQ LLC, correct? And how they both have the same address of 90 Woodbridge Drive, Suite 505, Mr. DeMarco?
Correct, and also located there is Onyx Kenilworth LLC,
Yes,
also
I'm
the same
aware,
address.
yes. So, I'll say it because I know that people don't want to, but everybody in here that has common sense, know when we're looking at a multitude of LLCs in the same area, usually not the best type of things going on, but anyway, my question is, I know Mr. DeMarco said that they said there is no correlation or interest regarding, but is there any form of legal piece of paper that anybody has had to sign legally to say that there is no association, there's no correlation, not to your knowledge, not what they told us? Is there something that the public can access so that we know that there is no correlation whatsoever? Can we over it?
I would say there's no paper that says they're not related to court. What I will say is Mr. Duval is a member of the bar, this is a quasi court, he didn't get sworn in, as experts get sworn in because he's always under oath and he's always required to tell the truth. So his statements, and he's in the best position to.
But what if he's being lied to? That's my question.
I understand that, I'm just pointing out a fact and then you can make your own opinion as to that fact. He is obligated to the best of his ability, and he's in the best position because he actually represents these entities to know whether or not they're affiliation. My understanding is he has asked that question of his client, and he has stated today in pretty clear terms that there is no affiliation.
So just making sure everyone understands, we have no way to understand that this is true. We have to take the word of an attorney after months of taking words from attorneys, and we know how that has went. So I'm requesting some form of legal piece of paperwork that the public can request so that we can feel safe that there is no suspicious correlation here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back again. So I do actually have a copy of the redevelopment agreement between you guys and the borough. And I do feel like this is the time to ask you, because I don't get a chance to ask anyone anything. But there is a stipulation in your redevelopment agreement that you can amend the redevelopment plan if you so choose. You can request it of the borough. And if you do not have plans to have someone with a data center coming into that new parcel, will you request an amendment to the redevelopment plan to exclude data centers for that lot?
Please. Just say yes.
You seen that lady back there you helped, right? She gave you a water. She got a breathing machine.
Everyone, I understand your comments about all this. All we're here for is the subdivision. I understand your concerns. But this is getting so far afield, and I know you don't want to hear that, but what we're here to talk about, these are all really governing body issues.
She just said you have power.
Upon request by the redeveloper.
Is that true that you have that ability?
Again, we're not going to answer comments.
That's her question. That was her question.
Have I not tried to answer everybody's question?
Yes.
You're trying to have a left. As attorneys do.
Anybody who's party to a redevelopment agreement or not can ask the municipality to amend the ordinance or redevelopment plan. Anybody can do it. Now, the answer is I cannot tell you that I won't, that the client will never ask for an amendment to a redevelopment plan. I can't tell you that.
But you are the redevelopment entity.
I understand that. Well, no, we're the redevelopment. The redevelopment entity is the borough.
Oh, yeah, you're the redeveloper. So your client, who you're gonna sell it to, is not bound by this.
No, the client, right, the prospective, that's what I said earlier. That the prospective purchaser would likely have to get a separate development agreement like that with the borough.
But you can, ahead of selling it, knowing that they're not a data center, request that that lot not allow data center.
You can see this.
And then,
Anybody can ask anything, but can't give you any answers to that. So,
is there a way for me to have a conversation with you?
I would not,
Outside of-
I'm not the principal of any of these.
Who's paying for dinner?
I'm really sorry I can't help you more on the spot. I'm sorry.
You can choose. You could. Yeah.
So that helps us some.
I'm a little confused because when I was here, you guys, I know you said you can't make a contractual agreement with developers, right? But when I was here for a meeting with her, is it different residential, when that residential apartment was being split and you guys made the agreement that they could not use the bottom floor for, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
so the reason for that,
Yeah.
which is different than this,
Okay.
is they came to ask for permission to go from a one family to a two.
Okay,
They didn't, what we said is, it's great, but understand that it can never go from a two to a three. That was the condition we put on them.
right.
And that's
But
why.
you can't do conditions with this.
They're asking for a subdivision.
Okay.
Right, and that subdivision is what's in front of us.
Okay,
When anyone comes in for a site plan, which is what that application is,
okay,
there is more ability of the board, more power within the board to ask for other conditions. right?
okay.
So the board was rightfully concerned in that matter. It has nothing to do with this.
No, I know, but I just.
I know.
confused, like-
I'm just reminding everyone that we got this hearing and we gotta get to the end.
Sorry.
In that matter, there was a rightful concern that potentially in the future, someone could, or they
In
could
the
turn
front, so,
into.
okay, I get the difference now, I didn't understand the difference. Okay, thank you.
Just so you know, it's your second time.
It is my second time.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. You guys are much more graceful this tonight than yesterday. Okay, just for the last time. for the record, give me ask it my way. If the new owner of the 12-acre lot wants to convert the use, not redevelop, not demolish and construct new, but simply convert existing buildings into a new use, are they required to go through an application review process with notice to the public?
You want to answer, Joe? The answer would be yes. Right? They would be required. Also, the other aspect of it, on the transfer of that smaller lot, before they can even come in, they would also have to be designated as a redeveloper and enter into a redevelopment. And that's where the borough doesn't suit them.
Excellent. And then my very last comment, I didn't realize it was initially a comment, that's why I came up the second time. I do want to point something out that we're all traumatized here. I know you're exhausted, but we're actually traumatized because you have the power in your hands. And in the last, or the first meeting that we had on April 28th, where everyone denied there was actually a data center going in, and you insisted that we were just there for the subdivision, and we couldn't ask any questions, right? But because it would prejudice the subdivision. But since that point, we knew that everybody, except for us, knew that this was announced everywhere, PR, in order to get tax cuts from the New Jersey Department the Environmental Department. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous now, but in order to get that tax incentive of $250 million, you all knew. So there was a prejudice against us during the last subdivision. And that's why I feel very strongly we can table this, because we know who's coming in. We know this group here, this Still Right, these copper miners, and we don't want any more chemicals or anything polluting our environment. Please table this vote. I'm sorry for you, sir, you're very kind, you seem like a kind person, but this is not okay. That's why the subdivision, this is not just a subdivision. This is about something else. We want to be protected, and we have yet to receive one independent environmental study. Other than stormwater, that's all we got back, whatever was clawed back. So please consider that tonight. That's really important because honestly, and I am speaking from my soul now, we feel abused. I feel abused. Okay? And that's no way to treat the people that voted for you. I may be from Cranford, but we are one humanity. So please table.
Hello, my name is Catherine, from an hour and a half away from here, and I keep having to come back to Kenilworth because y'all just won't table this regardless of how much of a health and safety concern it has been made aware to. My first question is, did anyone besides you and your team do any type of unbiased findings on this subdivision, or was it just you and your team? You were the person that said you did the review, correct?
No, I just created,
You just created that, you did the review. Okay. Did anybody else besides you and your team do any findings to ensure the health and safety of the subdivision?
So this is reviewed, this is subdivision in compliance with the bottom and that following. At the time when the site plan goes, as I said before, there will be an environmental review and environmental study when it comes forward. This is an existing use, it's just a lot being drawn on that.
But it did get cleared through all the ordinances.
There are some technical comments that if this were to get approved, they would have to revise the plan. In my office and also the plan will review work as well with compliance with the ordinance.
Okay, but it was said earlier by yourself and you that it was in line with all the ordinances.
Yeah. What Mr. Mazza said is typical subdivision application. Complies with the ordinance, but he was just saying that there should be additional markers. When you do lot lines and surveys, you have to put pins on the ground that show where the property lines are. So he was just saying that when Mr. Sippel revises the plan, they should indicate where those pins should go and where the measurements are, that's all. But
it does comply with the ordinance, you just wanted some additional marking for the
That's
class.
fine. What I meant to say was that we were looking for just additional information on the technical level, just to put property corners in the right locations.
Okay, thank you. Back to those companies that were mentioned, if any of those companies, including those who decide to develop on the subdivision eventually that don't exist potentially yet, if any of those companies are found guilty of committing crimes against humanity, as many companies who are currently processing data at hyperscale data centers are, including Amazon and ICE, who I'm not sure if they're related to these companies, you have no idea who they're connected to. You have no idea. They could be committing crimes against humanity. Is Langdon and this board aware that if that property, anywhere, including the subdivision, are holding companies that are committing crimes against humanity, that you will all be held liable as you have been made aware of the extreme hazard of these companies and this property? Are you all aware that you will be held responsible? That's my question.
I think you just made us all.
I'm the first person to make sure that you're aware?
No, that wasn't your question. The question was, are you aware?
And you said now you are because of what
I
I
didn't
said.
say now, I said I think you made us.
Oh, I made you aware. That's what you said. Okay. Last thing I'd like to say, subdivision or not, we are in a climate crisis. Every single industrial zone right now needs to be updated to have climate science data for these ordinances. Right now, you guys are just industrialize as much as possible, and we cannot have it. Please vote no or table the vote tonight over extreme safety and health concerns and the civil unrest that this is causing, including the subdivision. And I mean, if we have this much concern over a subdivision, then obviously the answer should be no. We should table this immediately. Thank you. I can't wait to come back up here and actually address CoreWeave and the real problems that you're trying to not let us talk about right now. Because it's going to be a long night. You didn't let us do it right now.
On the application, right?
Question for you, could the town impose a deed restriction on that new division to guarantee there won't be a data center built?
Yeah. The question you asked is a question for the council, or not the planning board. Where the planning board does not oppose that deed restriction.
Got it, okay. Got it, thank you.
Anyone else?
Alright, I have a question. I came here late. Can you guys explain to me what a subdivision is?
In general, sir, it's taken one parcel and divided it into two or more.
And what's the typical purpose of this?
The purpose is to redraw the lot lines to establish two other parcels, greater parcels, to be, for whatever reason, right?
What is the reason tonight?
I explained that earlier, sorry, you weren't here. The applicant has a purchaser who will buy the three buildings on that one lot, and would like to own that.
And who is the purchaser?
I said I cannot reveal that, but it's proposed.
What is there?
I am not authorized.
Like an NDA?
I'm not authorized.
As part of your testimony, you did say it was not quoted, correct?
It is not quoted, that's right.
I just have a question. When CoreWeave subdivided its land into four, I believe it was the 28th of April, there was a section where they had to put the use, and I can show you right here. Could you just tell me what you put down for this?
Sir, this is not the CoreWeave application.
No, I'm saying every subdivision application has that section. I'm wondering what they put down for the use.
So the applicant in this one has.
Since we're not allowed to see the application, right?
The application in this one states office buildings.
Office buildings, okay. And that's it? just up. But if something else wanted to be developed in the future, they would have to come back to you guys, submit another application. There would have to be.
We've answered that question.
Okay. I came in late.
No, I understand that, but I'm just.
All right, I can move on.
Joe, can I just clarify one thing? These offices and laboratories.
And laboratories. What kind of laboratories?
I don't know all the different labs in that building. I know EIT.
I thought you weren't allowed to do it.
No.
That's already there.
Okay. Oh, that's not the subdivision. Okay, so do you understand why it might be a little suspicious? There was a tomfoolery going on before.
I understand what you're saying. The point though is, we've actually gone well above and beyond the subdivision application we typically talk about. I understand why, and I understand everyone's concerns about different things, but the subdivision complies with the ordinance.
How many lots are being created? Two. And how many owners per lot?
The owner of the lot will be the current applicant, and if they sell that parcel.
The current mystery applicant.
Sir,
You gotta let me finish.
you gotta let him finish his answers, and you gotta use the microphone, please.
So like I said earlier, the applicant owns the parcel. When it's subdivided, they will still own both. They will transfer one to another owner, and then they will be two owners.
Okay, so the applicant is who?
Kenilworth Corporate Property, LLC, one more than another.
And do they have an umbrella company or anything, or any other divisions that we might be familiar with?
What they have is, that is the name of the applicant, and the disclosure form is where they list the other three sub-owners of Kenilworth Corporate Property.
And can you name them?
They're already named and they're in the applications.
Like I said, we're not allowed to see the application.
Sir, you could have requested the
I came
application.
in late. What do you
I
mean?
understand you came in late, sir, but,
Can I see the application now?
sir, what questions do you have regarding this application?
That was my question just now. What do you mean?
Can we see the application?
You have to understand the same thing happens 4 weeks before those suspicious, so I just want to know. From what I understand from the little glimpse I had, one of the companies literally has AI as the first two letters of the name. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You can understand our suspicion considering that. You guys didn't even try to hide it, and honestly, AI companies often use, data center companies often use like shell companies to try to sneak in, inconspicuous seeming companies that are completely innocent, that are not going to, bring enough data center into the area. So you guys confirm that no CoreWeave affiliated entity is the current or anticipated owner, tenant, developer, or occupant of any of the Onyx lots. Is that on record?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you guys.
Just want to make sure I'm understanding the different bodies here, right? You guys are appointed, correct, not elected? And the council would be elected, not appointed, correct? Okay. So, in theory, for any type of subdivision, including this one right here, you would have any type of development essentially. For instance, I'm just using the data center's reference because it's here. We have council would be approving the actual zoning allowance of a data center, and this governing body would be signing off the approval of said specific development coming in. So you guys sign yes to CoreWeave, council signs yes to the zoning allowance of a data center, and then CoreWeave comes in and applies to you, correct?
Yeah, what you just stated, Rich, so I understood it was that the council sets the zoning.
Yes.
And then after the zoning is in place, an applicant comes here, and this board makes sure they comply with that zoning. That's the process.
Okay, so I just want on the record tonight with this, when was the agenda put out of what was going to be on the application tonight? Like when was the public made aware of this special meeting? So can you please give me the date of that? Can we say more or less than 72 hours?
Yeah, it was more than 72 hours. It was last week that it was put up on the website.
Last week? Can you find that?
No.
Can anybody grab that, or that, because I'm talking about this, like the specific stuff.
Bring up the website on your phone and see what day it was posted.
So there's two types of notifications that have to go out. It is special. It's not a regular meeting of the board, it's a special. So this is what has to happen. You have a development application, the subdivision, I have to get notice for that. That's what, this is how the lady in the bracket, she showed me that notice that I sent to her.
That's not the date.
It's on the-
Date or not,
Yeah,
we'll go past that for a
okay,
second. Sorry,
okay,
it's just a.
That's the notice that I have to do.
Right, and when is that?
So that has to be at least 10 days before.
Okay.
Published now.
And would people be able to understand, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to get into like the whole municipal land use discussion, but that's one type of notice that has to get done.
Jason, I have to interrupt you. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. So that's my job, which I did, 10 days before, at least 10 days before. I think it was a little bit more, but at least 10 days before. That's my job. Their job, because it's a special meeting, it wasn't on their regular meeting calendar. The borough clerk or the board clerk, doesn't matter who does it, has to post on the town website a minimum of 48 hours in advance that there's a special meeting. And also, I guess based on the publication laws, you don't have to do this, but they could also post, and sometimes they go above and beyond, posting on the bulletin board, and stuff like that. But based on the new law that came out actually March of this year, believe it or not, you only have to, the town only has to post on their website. I believe it was on their website, maybe even 12 or, it was way more than 48 hours before the
Does
meeting.
that include the agenda?
Yeah,
So the notice that it was a special meeting was up there early. The agenda was less than 48 hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a fact.
Yes,
We have all been looking every single day. And what I'll say with that is when you say to over-request applications, but we have a borough, when you over-request, asking for extensive time for specific or different reasons, and it's already a 7-day time frame, if we have less than 24 hours to know the specifics of the meeting, how are we supposed to over-request the paperwork before you approve something if we have much less time to be able to access that application? Does that make sense?
yeah, but here it's different, because under the Open Public Meeting Act, if there's a notice being given by pursuant to another statutory body, which is a municipal land use law, then it's fine. So actually, there was more notice given to this meeting than actually was required. Whether you like that or not, I agree with you.
No, I don't care about what I
But
like. I'm asking about the specific
Yeah.
agenda, please tell me to over an application if I don't
So
have the time to do it.
I'm answering.
Okay.
So under the land use law, for like a subdivision, site plan, whatever it might be, that is my notice. My notice tells you that, not the town.
And it tells you what companies can do
My,
the application.
let me tell you what my notice has to say. My notice has to say the time, date, and location of the meeting. Okay, August 27th on Borough Hall, right? And it also has to say what we're proposing, subdivision. Then it also, at the end, has to say where the plans, application materials are on file. So what I do is I call the board secretary, which I always do, and I say, okay, just verifying where everything is on file. So when a member of the public, whether you read it in the newspaper or you get it in your mailbox, you know, hey, if I want to look at this, I contact the borough clerk or the board secretary, and I can come down and investigate or make copies or look at it. So it's my notice that works, not the borough.
And lastly, just for the record, we are being told to go back with any future concern, possibilities of concerns of what will develop here. We are being told to go back to a governing body that is being legally advised by, I believe, Mark Semeraro, to not respond to anybody. So I just want on record that when people come back here, like on April 28th, when Mr. Pacerno said, there's no application on the table, we don't know what you're talking about, you're comparing apples to oranges. When you say things like that and then come to find out, we had a very obvious reason for a subdivision. Once again, my concern is not having an ability to understand what's going on before something happens, because we have a governing body that is unable legally from being advised to speak to us.
Okay, is there a motion to close the meeting to the public? So moved. Moved by Mr. David, seconded by Mr. Pena. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So, you want to summarize, Mr. DeMarco, at this point?
I don't know if Jason's done speaking. Do you want to?
You want me to talk more?
No. You can correct me if
I don't even know if I have it.
you can correct me if I. So what's before the board is essentially a major subdivision. The only difference between a major and a minor is how the actual subdivision is filed. Right? It doesn't change this board's determination. What we've heard is that Mr. Sippel has described the subdivision is talked about the easements to allow access to those lots that they get created, how to still be access to the landlocked. Our board engineer and our board planner have both reviewed that. There are no variances or any issues raised. It would comply with the minimum lot requirements and everything that subdivision does require. There are only some technical comments about additional markings. You know where the lot lines really are. This is really not a straight piece of property. So that's the purpose of that. You've heard many comments from the public regarding concerns about future use. I think Mrs. Duval did an excellent job of explaining that that is not what's before this board, but also reminding people that if that future use changes from office to something else, it would have to be coming back before this board. It would also have to stop at the Borough Council for that redeveloper, get a redevelopment agreement to make those changes. So what's before the board, quite simply, is the subdivision tonight. And I think it's here.
Anyone from the board have any questions for Jason or any of the other board members or professionals? I think Mr. Marco summed up quite well, and we are now at the point of voting. Does someone like to make a motion to approve and or deny the application that's before us?
I think can't hear you. I think the residents did a good job clearing the application or answering a lot of questions as good as we can do up here. So based on all the answers I've heard from the presentation from the attorney here,
Speak with your chest, come on.
I move to approve the application.
Mr. Mazzio.
It's going to kill children, you sure about that?
Mr. Mazzio made a motion. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Clemente. Roll call.
When you record your vote, you can just make sure your mic is on. I'm sorry?
Mr. Paterno?
Yes.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Plenty?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
And Mr. Nicole?
Okay, thank you, everyone.
You could have kept your integrity one of you children.
Not one.
Okay.
Not one.
Children will die. You hear me?
We are still in session. We need to vote yourself. We're going to move on to our
Sick freaks.
Yeah. They all.
How small do you have to be? Yes, he's nodding his head, yes, it's this big.
motion to reopen the meeting. Motion made by Mr. Davis, seconded by Mr. Mazzio. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, so for you people out in the public, we're still in session. So we're going to ask that this is still being recorded, that we can all move on. We have minutes that we could conduct this meeting. And what we're going to do now is open this meeting to the public. And someone is going to make a motion on this ordinance. So moved. Moved by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Clementi, all in favor? Aye. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Yeah. We now go into the public portion of 3 minutes per person. And we are also have implemented that there'll be one time up to the podium. And we are finishing up our meeting at 10 p.m. tonight.
The calendar said 11.
Okay, I said 11.
It's 9:30.
There you go.
It said 11.
The attorney has.
Is that right? The agenda said 11. Yeah. We need to follow the agenda.
Hi, good evening. My name is Annette from Cranford. I would respectfully ask that my testimony and my words be put into the record this evening. I just want to begin by saying that I'm not asking this board to decide tonight whether data centers are good or bad, whether core leagues are good, and whether the development should occur in Kenilworth. I'm asking a more fundamental question. What project is this board being asked to approve? From the perspective of the people who live here, this is not a series of unrelated applications. We've watched the Nest property be divided, subdivided, redeveloped, and presented through successive applications. We've seen the initial 40-megawatt CoreWeave facility, including its electrical infrastructure, generators, and other components move forward. But this is the thing, noise does not know which application created it. Diesel emissions do not know which parcel contains the generator. Electrical infrastructure does not know where one subdivision ends and another begins. Traffic, stormwater, heat, water consumption, emergency response, all of these things do not stop at the boundaries of individual approvals. The community experiences the whole, not in parts. This is why I'm deeply concerned about this pattern of subdivision. I'm not asking this board to make a legal finding that anyone has improperly subdivided this development. I'm asking a factual question. When will the borough evaluate the cumulative impact of the project that is actually being contemplated? Before approving anything else, where is the independent third-party analysis of the existing 40 megawatts? Because we heard something else is coming through. Where is the independent baseline establishing the actual noise, emissions, electrical, water, the frequency, the stuff that your ordinance will not measure? When did the borough first know CoreWeave intended to pursue this additional capacity? When did the borough professionals receive the technical materials? And how much time did residents have to understand them, obtain independent expertise, and meaningfully participate? There is another question I believe that deserves serious consideration. As the scope of this development has grown, has public accountability grown proportionally? The borough has accommodated individual pieces through redevelopment, subdivision, site plan, and infrastructure actions, but a project of this scale cannot be responsibly understood by looking at each piece in isolation. The pieces may be approved separately, but the consequences are cumulative. So tonight, I'm asking the board to consider what's coming ahead. Something else is not here tonight, but last night we were told that CoreWeave would be heard. I don't think that was very fair either, that township told this group of very stressed, anxious individuals that that's what was coming tonight after August. It was cruel. Thank you.
All right, hi. Good evening. Quite an evening, actually. My name, Peter Chairman and members of the Kenilworth Planning Board. My name is Richard Isaac. I'm speaking on behalf this evening of the Sierra Club and state that the club is opposed to the proposed data centers. Kenilworth does not afford the massive environmental, structural, and public health burdens this infrastructure will impose on the community. The lack of an environmental impact statement for the current building under construction, along with more infrastructure without another proper environmental assessment, is a recipe for disaster. All these materials must be provided to the residents of Kenilworth before any formal vote, of course, by the town council. Because Kenilworth is a tiny borough, spanning just 2 square miles with roughly 8,500 residents, this massive facility is highly integrated into the surrounding neighborhoods. Families living on Washington Avenue and immediately bordering the 103-acre Nest Center campus on Galloping Hill Road are being forced to live next to an infrastructure nightmare. This project is not a quiet office park. It's a 24/7 industrial machine that will permanently degrade our daily quality of life through endless noise and thermal pollution. Beyond the sound, Kenilworth and surrounding areas will face increased heat impact from the data center, creating a localized urban heat island effect. Households and businesses up to 7 miles away will be impacted. They will experience warmer temperatures in their backyards, sidewalks, and streets, forcing their home air conditioners to run longer and work harder, which directly will spike their monthly utility bills. This board must evaluate the long-term economic, environmental, and community impacts of this project, turning this property into a heavily secured industrial site packed with dozens of loud, vibrating outdoor diesel generators will permanently damage the neighborhood and crush nearby residential property values. The applicant should prepare and make public an environmental impact statement so the planning board can make an informed decision about the facility's cumulative impact and, of course, the town council as well. The planning board's role is to protect the health and welfare of Kenilworth residents. This data center will have irreparable impacts on this community's health. The New Jersey Sheriff will strongly urge you to vote against this application, and of course, have the town council vote against it as well. And in addition, and I know I'm limited on time here, I did have the officer, your planning board director, a document regarding PFAS. There's different ways, a lot of heat is generated, as we all know, with these data centers, and there's different ways of cooling it. One way, unfortunately, is with PFAS. And do you have the document that I had the officer give you? If not, I have it.
Yeah, we
You
have
have it, okay, so I just want to...
Is your time to...
Okay, that was it. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.
What you're seeing tonight is sad. You see this community is scared because we've been lied to so many times. We're waiting for the gotcha. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop. As kind as that attorney might appear to be, all of us think it's full of shit. The government is not supposed to represent a multi-billion-dollar what a multi-billion-dollar corporation wants. It's supposed to represent the people who live here, raise their families here, pay their taxes here. See, we're going to have long-term consequences here. It's so simple. It's like any other U.S. resident we want what we're entitled to. Clean water, clean air, fair power on water bills, and an ounce of transparency from our government. Do you guys know about the class action lawsuit filed against CoreWeave this year? Anyone want to answer that? All right, good, I'll tell you about it. So, Messacious versus CoreWeave Inc. was filed on January 12th, 2026 in the District Court of New Jersey. It alleges CoreWeave and certain executives made false, misleading statements to investors in violation of federal securities law. See, from what I read, the allegations are particularly interesting in the context of data centers. Plaintiffs allege CoreWeave understated its ability to meet customer demand and understated risks. They understated risks. They understated risks. They understated risks associated with relying on a third-party data center supplier. I'm hoping everyone heard that and they lied. Can you understand why Union County residents are sick to their stomach over this data center? So again, we ask you, where's the redevelopment agreement? Where is it? I lived in Union for over 40 years, and those new 50-foot power lines that go from the data center all the way to Union Center, they're disgusting. And on top of that, there's a 2007 peer-reviewed study that showed significant correlation between high voltage power lines and residents diagnosed with blood cancer. I want you guys to look into this. The study showed that individuals living close to these high voltage power lines were up to twice as likely to get blood cancers. What's worse, that children who lived in this environment up to the age of 15 were 3 times as likely to get blood cancer. And what's worse is that children between the ages of 0 and 5 were more than 4 times likely to develop blood cancer. So you guys need to look into this. That's one reason why we need a redevelopment plan in place that outlines these concerns for our public. But I'll end here with a couple questions. If there's no executed redevelopment agreement, what binding obligations does the developer actually accept? Why hasn't the public been allowed to see the agreement before decisions are made? What specific protections for the residents are written into the agreement? And where can we review them? What penalties exist if the developers fail to deliver on traffic, utility, or noise mitigation? Who pays for the upgrades to the roads, water, sewer, or emergency services if you need or if the project triggers them?
Your time's up.
I guess you see where I'm going. You guys got some planning.
So, speaking of some lawsuits, this isn't a lawsuit, it's just other things that are a little alarming, I would say. The Motley Fool, it was revealed that despite pulling in revenue, CoreWeave lost a staggering $626 million in a singular quarter, weighed down by massive interest on roughly $35 billion of debt. Worse, articles from Investing.com show that top executives have been quietly cashing out, with CEO Michael Intrater executing massive stock sales totaling over $20 million while the company faces active security fraud class action lawsuits over operational transparency. Just 2 very small things, but I just have to make something like abundantly clear to everybody here. Our whole goal, like in society, is to become tech advancement, advance past what is natural. I don't know when one of these billionaires, elites, are going to sit down and use their common sense for 30 seconds that when you advance past nature, you are advancing against yourself. We are nature. Science, you cannot fight that no matter what, we need a healthy environment, we need a healthy ecosystem to have a good quality of life. So when you fight against that, you are harming not only yourselves, but upcoming generations that you are responsible for. Every single one of you up here that makes a decision about a development that has a risk of harming people, you are responsible for. I want everyone to remember, we do not have an obligation as people, and none of you have an obligation to serve a multi-billion-dollar facility. If they decide that they want to screw themselves financially, it is not your responsibility to back them up. They are not here to protect you. It's common sense. Like, I don't know why a 23-year-old is up here talking to you guys about this. You should all know this already. The American government, right, just in general, we all know you need a level of desperation in the American people financially, and it kind of helps them submit to things and become more complacent, right? It's easier to approve things. I do not know why any of you think you are special to that. CoreWeave quite literally saw financial desperation. They sold you a dream, and you accepted it because there was a sliver of hope, a sliver, which you cannot even prove, that there's going to be any benefit to the general public for this. So as long as every single one of you can go home tonight, go to your family, your children, whatever it is, and you can look around, look at your house, look at your clean food, clean air, clean water, and you can say to yourself, you know what? This isn't what it's all about. It's about big tech. We got it, I know my daughter might get sick, my wife might get an illness, I might have You're making a decision that is impacting people. You are serving people, and you are deciding to ignore them. It is not our fault that there is a separation here. You have taken your public image and your ego over every single human being in this room. You understand that? So that is when you have to sit out of this chair and go back home. Because your responsibility that you have, you lost it. You lost the plot here. Really bad. I'm 23 years old. Propaganda always exists. I'm always going to be lied to. You guys got something out of the deal. You understand that? You got something out of the deal. I did not. You got your first time 3 quarts of strawberries in Parkview. You got clean air, clean water, clean food. You want me to believe in economic benefit? You understand? You should be ashamed of yourself. Every single one of you.
They're all disgusting up there.
Let's set a timer real
Go
quick
home
so I
and
can see how long it's
separate
taking.
your property.
Okay, so,
Go put your finger on it.
oh yeah, listen, okay, wait, I'm gonna start that over. Okay, so I just want to express some concerns that I have for the local businesses with all of these data centers going up. I know that you've approved one and you plan to approve 2 more. I want to urge you not to approve 2 more. My concerns for local businesses are, first of all, Galloping Hill Golf Course brings a lot of business to this town. I would say arguably probably the most business to this town is they're bringing in like probably thousands of people with weddings and golfers and all kinds of stuff, and who are patronizing all the local businesses. My concern is that if the noise is problematic to the golf course and it ruins their business, how will that hurt the economy of Kenilworth? If this data center does create a heat bubble, as they say that data centers do, as has been reported, and people no longer want to golf there because it's too hot or the grass is like super dry or what. I know we compare data centers and golf courses a lot, so it got me thinking about this golf course particularly. But my concern is what happens if that business is hurt by this? Because who wants to have a wedding with a data center buzzing in the background in a heat bubble? You know what I'm saying? And I think that could hurt the economy of Kenilworth. My other concerns are, and perhaps we could put a pause on the other 2 data centers so you can see what happens with this first data center. If something like a rare bacterium gets into the water, okay, like what happened with Meta's data center, it's widely reported if you want to look it up. How does this hurt the laundromat in town, all of the restaurants that rely on the water? Will they have to close until the bacterium issue is sorted out? If there is a contamination problem, that's a very huge concern, not just for Kenilworth's economy, but this can have catastrophic economic effects on Union County as a whole if all of the businesses just in a day are not allowed to use water. Do you know what I'm saying? That could cause a very serious issue with tax revenue because then those businesses aren't bringing in tax revenue for the towns. So that's a large concern of mine, is basically what are your plans, and I'd like to know what your plans are to make sure that the local businesses aren't affected and that CoreWeave isn't prioritized over the entire economy of Union County.
So you know your time.
I asked a question. I'm waiting for your answer.
So this is traditionally public comment, so it's up to the board whether or not.
They don't answer.
Okay, well, I'm urging you to come up with a plan for that scenario before it happens instead of after.
I just wanted to lift up one particular concern regarding water use. It's been widely talked about that the new data center that's already under construction CoreWeave's approach in general is going to be this whole closed loop water cooling system, which they say takes very little water in comparison to other data centers, so we should be, happy that they're doing it this way. I just wanted to lift up the fact that it's been reported that the indirect water use of any data center is actually much, much, much greater than the direct water use, which is what they're reporting, is how many gallons they'll use for the closed loop. It's been reported that data centers' indirect water usage is based on their energy demand, so it would be the water used by our public utilities to generate the electricity that they are going to be using daily. As far as I know, only Meta reports their indirect water usage, and it has been reported to be 24-fold the direct water usage at the data center site. CoreWeave is one of the other companies that does not do their reporting, so I wanted to just lift up that concern. And I wonder if, especially this one that's kind of a done deal and is happening regardless of whether the other two get approved, is there a way that we can embed some kind of monitoring or demand that they report direct and indirect water usage so that we can be sure of the actual burden on the community's water and not just what they're saying that's like a very small portion of what that will be? And any other kinds of reassurances or, negotiate with them benefits to the public, like if they're saying there's going to be 140-something jobs, can we make sure that those jobs will be here in Kenilworth? And can we make sure that they put into some escrow, like 10 years worth of those salaries in case they fold in 3 years and then you guys don't get any of that revenue? You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering what are steps that can be had to mitigate like what's already happened, such that the community can benefit from all these promises, because a lot of data centers say, oh yeah, we're going to do clean energy, we're going to do this and that, and then they go, oh, actually we need backup generators, never mind. So how can we just have assurances that whatever they promise they're actually going to do, so that this does benefit the community, as we're hoping. I'm assuming that's why you approved it, or whoever approved it wants to speak. Thank you.
So, the entirety of the 2000 Galvin Hill Road lot, so the subdivision previously, this subdivision, everything there is a Tier 3 wellhead protection area. It is supposed to be monitored. Do we know who is doing the monitoring for the wellhead protection, and does that fall under this board? Can we request also that there's proof that somebody is monitoring that?
So that is not for this board, but typically it is with usually the construction official, as well as there's an LSRP record involved with that.
Oh, what?
An LSRP, typically.
That is
It's licensed, LSRP exists in that country. Now, I don't have the information on that yet, as this board has said, they haven't received a site plan. But that's something that was brought up in the letter, this is noted as a BP site. So I am aware of it, but until they get to an actual application, I really can't wait in the right place.
I would want to put it on the record here. If this is in, just so we don't get, blindsided again, when site plans come up for approval, if there is a way to have them prove in their site applications that they are monitoring that. And there was a couple of other things that were in the preliminary investigation report for that site. We are not asking them enough to prove how they're going to monitor the environmental impacts. And that is something that you can ask of them before they get approved. So please take a look at that preliminary investigation report for the wellhead, the tier 3 wellhead protection, and anything else that is, do I have it? No, I don't have it, but there's multiple maps of environmental protections that are there, including the flood zone, all of that, and that's where the wetlands question came from as well. I know where those wetlands are on that map. I know exactly where it was, and it was in that subdivision. It's not a site plan, so I don't know if you could ask it, but you probably could have asked for them to have it for that subdivision because it lives within that subdivision. Please, I know there's not much that you can do in regards to the redevelopment agreement, the plan in of itself, but you can absolutely ask before you approve these things for them to prove that they are monitoring their environmental impacts. Okay? Thank you.
So the attorney, when I came up the second time, I pointed out to him that there was no date on that notice. And he points out, he goes, yeah, August 20th. When the notice was created, there's no date. As a businesses up there, when you write an invoice, you put the date on it. When you write a document, you put the date on it. So I'm asking from you guys, any future applications, if it's Mary who wants to put a garden somewhere, whatever application goes forward, that you urge those lawyers to put the date on the notice. So we don't just resort to, oh, what is it, postmark on the envelope. I can show you guys after the meeting, I can show you front and back of the envelope of it. There's no date saying when that document, that notice was created, it just said August 20th. And that's what the attorney here says, oh yeah, they're right here, August 20th. He's a good attorney. The other thing I want to say, so environmentally, things to look into, where you guys, thank you for mentioning that you're looking to an expert. So sulfur dioxide, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. Those three things, when mixed with moisture, they create battery acid. What does battery acid do to our paint? It strips it. Sides of houses, you're in construction, you're in carpentry, you guys know. Battery acid is going to tarnish any work you do. So these are things that maybe me saying that will inspire you to look further into it environmentally and what it's going to do to us collectively as residents. I know, I'm just really disheartened about this whole thing. The other thing I want to say, Alex was mentioning that where we've overstated risks, he said that 3 times. I just want to mention that they over-embellished the jobs. The jobs that was on that notice, 143 jobs that Corby is bringing in, that's false. What they did is they included their offices locally to make that number higher. And we can provide documentation for you for that. Again, you guys created a whole community of people who are actively working on this. I don't know what it's like to be in your seat. I will give you benefit of the doubt that you all have good intentions, but maybe you guys don't look at the paperwork well enough, or maybe there's other entities in the background. I don't know. I'm not in your seat. But I ask going forward that you guys do your work before any other application goes forward in regarding a data center, potential data center, anything at that site, that you guys say environmental impact study. What's going on with that? Because the first site that was approved, there was no environmental impact study at all. Thank you.
Quickly, my name is Rebecca Davis. I sent one of the emails in. It has a long list of environmental and health concerns in it, with sources for each of those concerns. And I just want to know, is it going into the void, or will all of you read it and consult those sources if you are so moved? What happens to the emails we send? I feel like I come up here and talk.
You asked a question about what happens to correspondence, right? It's received, it's logged in, and then it's available to the board to read. If it's related to a specific application or something to that, that's different than just general oppositions to things or information, right? It's similar to public comment, right? So it's available to the board for them to consume.
So it's available to you and you can decide whether or not to use it. I would ask that you all read it and take it seriously, please. I feel like I come up here and I come up with council meetings and I feel like it goes on deaf ears. And the complaints earlier about coming to council meetings and have that absolutely not answer any questions are genuine and extremely frustrating. My email ends with a whole lot of questions. I feel like this whole community has a lot of questions and they're never answered, or they're answered in ways that are clearly false. Like, we were told that Chloe was getting their, is going to make their own power and it's going to be nuclear power. That is obviously false. They're not going to have a nuclear plant there, right? So, I'm not going to take up more time. I'm just, like everybody here, exceedingly frustrated by this situation. And I would ask you to please read what I said. I spent a lot of time on it and take it seriously. Thank you.
As stated by the chair, the intent was to end this at 10 o'clock, so I don't know.
It's 11.
It's 11 on the agenda.
Agenda says 11.
Ask your secretary up there, she wrote it.
So
Kathy, what's your
I don't know how many,
Till 11.
I have it on my phone.
I don't know how many other people wanted to speak.
Oh, well.
Right? So there's 4 or 5 lined up, I'll just leave that to the board.
Anybody want to speak for the line?
For the line, I'm sure they get paid by the hour.
China will send you.
Yes, sir.
No, the planning board, you're not supposed to just follow the rules, but they put you out here for to make decisions. And it doesn't have anything to do with following the rules. It's a moral thing. It's doing the right thing, you know. Before we come back and see the immensity of this project, I don't know if you understand. It's 200,000 homes of electricity coming in. If it's going to be 250 megawatts. Now, what that is, that means that 50-foot pole is going to be 3 milligauss, 160 feet away. 50-foot pole, 160 feet away is 3 milligauss. 3 milligauss is clearly linked to more cancer. That's in the study. There's no dispute about that. I read studies. That's what I do. So 50 feet, 160. Now, when that comes back, a class action lawsuit at everybody, you're going to be in trouble. That's 250 megawatts. This is not a warehouse. The biggest data centers are raising the temperature 17 degrees Fahrenheit. This one is probably going to be like 4 degrees. But the woman last night, if you didn't see, she was saying that the heat reverberates out. So it's raising the whole area 5 degrees, 4 degrees, and that's just going to go out. The data center in northern Texas, right at the edge, there's a farm. 2 years, the animal farm has not had any birds. This is verified. This is not make-believe. Infrasound. Infrasound is 0 to 30 hertz. I couldn't come up with the studies. I'm going to be sending them all to you because it's clearly causing problems. So not only are you talking about like sound, but the diesel generators. At the beginning, it's going to be 31 diesel generators. Each one is 4 megawatts, which is the size of a box car. 31 in the beginning.
size of a boxcar. 4 weeks ago, the Trump administration said, we're leaving them on all weekend.
Sir, can you just wind it up?
Okay, because of the heat waves. So all the diesel generators on West Coast, East Coast were on all weekend. All weekend. And, you know, you think that's like a warehouse. It's nothing like that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
So when you tell me to wrap it up, are they done with their time limits, or do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody just said time forever. Alex said time forever.
I don't see that time.
Ma'am,
I'm sorry. Says 11. Go ahead. All right.
just for the record, everyone gets more than 3 minutes anyway. Okay.
4 years. What the record is obvious tonight and previously that we as a community do not trust the board, having board, good town council before we, the lack of transparency, across all these different people discussing, do you have a plan on how to repair and regain that trust with the company? Yeah, when they're out. That's my question.
Ma'am, do you have any other comments?
Yeah, we know that. Your questions, that's my question, because it's obviously a public image problem in addition to all the other things that are happening with the issues in the data center. I'm just curious if you guys are aware of this in any sense. So I would think that canceling the data center would go far to regain that trust and trust with the community.
Hello, I'm Jacob, I'm a Kenilworth resident. Actually, the current Preston State's attorney, but I don't have to deal with this kind of stuff. I hate local politics, and like, I have no interest in coming out here tonight. I've gotten dragged into this over the course of time, and I'm probably one of the least important people here. I'm very impressed with my fellow citizens. I wish I could say the same for you folks. We're first-time homeowners, my wife Robin and I. We bought our house here 3 years ago, and we really love this town. And we found it to be a great place to live, great people. And this whole thing, this past few months learning about this, is making me think, did we make a mistake? Did we make a mistake? Would we hear, what is this community going to be 5, 10 years from now? If this is how politics works, this is how these new developments get pushed through with, so little forethought about the downstream effects and what will happen to the environment, our property values, our power bills, I mean, everything. It's just, I don't understand why it's so shaky. My understanding is you all have to live here in this town with us too, right? Like, what are we getting out of this? Well, why do you want to see it? That's what I endeavor to understand. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I don't really have anything prepared, but forgive me if I'm like thinking of stuff. I prefer not to be rushed. I don't want to use my full 3+ minutes, however much it is. So there was a lawsuit that the NAACP filed against XAI because basically they're polluting the area and the urban area, and they're doing it indiscriminately. And the Department of Justice basically said, like, we're just going to side with XAI. So the federal government is outright saying on the record they're not going to enforce environmental protection against data centers to preventing environmental disasters that occur. That should really startle you guys. And when it comes to the 2 other, I know the first one was approved, unfortunately. But when it comes to the first other data center, with some
please just consider all these factors. I mean, you guys, I know you're not allowed to say anything out loud, because then, or we could sue you guys and say that you guys aren't being impartial, and then they could, railroad this thing through. So I'm hoping in my heart of hearts that you guys are actually taking in what we're saying, because, I mean, I imagine it's just human to, hear arguments over and over and over again, where people give you sources through email or whatever out loud, and give you, I mean, that guy was talking about, a correlation of blood cancer on the rise with the giant black power lines being, erected in the surrounding areas, which the mayor said was due to Hurricane Sandy, but then we found evidence through Oprah that it wasn't, of course, because, they're wanting to build a substation. That was another thing that you guys know is, in Chloe's initial plan, it's, 3 data centers and a substation, and now they're saying a nuclear power plant, which is absurd. Yesterday we had a town hall with, John Cryan and, Lamont MacGyver and, John Cryan, where there's no way they're going to build a nuclear power plant. It's crazy, but do you understand that Chloe was telling you guys, a nuclear power plant is going to be built, and that sounds absurd to you guys, and you can pretty much guarantee that they're over-promising other things. Not that we would want a nuclear power plant, because like someone mentioned, the water is, in a closed loop system, the water usage is felt downstream, meaning that basically the nuclear power plant will be the thing that will be consuming all the water, which would be far more than, just the facility itself. And Hungary had these massive heat waves, which let's face it, is going to create a heat island and, cause all kinds of crazy things with the heat. They had a massive heat wave that was so bad to the extent that they had to shut off 2 nuclear power plants in the country and, jeopardize the power grid because, the global warming thing is happening, and whether you want to believe it or not, it's getting hotter. Europe has been in a massive heat wave, which is literally killing people. And this will create a heat island. Someone mentioned, rightfully so, that all these surrounding businesses will be affected, especially the golf course, which is right there.
Can you wrap it up, sir?
Yes, I can. I guess that's it. Just please, just take everything in, make an informed decision. I know you guys will. I trust you, and I know the first one's already through, but like with the other two, take everything everyone says in it, consider it.
My name is Catherine. First, I've seen a couple of you go down. I'm hoping that you're taking notes, so if you could just write down really quickly the name Alex, A-L-E-S, space D-E, space V-R-I-E-S, hyphen G-A-O. Alex Vidriscal. That's one of the researchers that actually published and has been talking about the information about the water demands due to the indirect consumption from the electricity that was referenced earlier, and the facts about it being 24 times the amount of consumption from the meta data center is correct, and the average is at least 10 times the water consumption. So he's looking into that. Next, I have been absolutely impressed by the amount of research and learning and sharing of information that I've seen from the people behind me and from a lot of people that were here before. They've been doing a lot of your guys' work for you retroactively. I understand that you didn't know as much before, but you do now, and I hope this is a learning opportunity, and there are a few things I want you to take away from this. So number 1, this job asks a lot of you. Do it, or you can leave. You're not handcuffed to these chairs, you're not handcuffed to this position. You can leave. You don't have to do this work, you don't want to, just don't do the job. Number 2, if you do choose to do the job, thank you, we appreciate that. Your public is a resource, okay? Rather than trying to do things behind closed doors, or now that you realize you made a mistake, try to cover it up, use us. We want to help. We have been here for hours, okay? We've been doing this for months. Okay, people are spending a lot of time crafting emails and sending them to you, looking for resources and actually putting the sources and sending them to you. Okay, we're here to help at this point because helping you is helping us, is helping you. Okay? Next, we seem to have some problems with what words actually mean. Compliance is not the same thing as transparency. Okay? And decorum is not the same thing as respect. So we do please ask for transparency and respect. And then the last thing, seeing this kind of turnout and hearing all of these well-informed questions warranted at least tabling this vote tonight, at the very least. I hope maybe from those questions you realize, well, maybe they're onto something. Maybe I won't vote no, but maybe we at least just hold off for a minute. So the very fact that not a single one of you even contemplated or proposed that out loud is cowardly and embarrassing. Do better.
Say it.
Hello again. Hello again. My name is Catherine Ireland from Bordentown, New Jersey, a beautiful community that would never do this to their constituents. First off, I'd like to remind everyone in the audience this is not a done deal. You guys as well. These are just businesses of which the general public are deeming a nuisance and a threat to the public's safety. It is the job of the boards and this borough, the council included, to stop businesses that are a nuisance and a threat to public safety, not to vote in favor of them. Have you all been made aware, yes or no, of the major public safety and health consequences of this project? I know the answer because we've been in here talking about it for months on end, giving you resource after resource, fact after fact, about how much of a hazard, safety and health hazard this is. So I will ask you again, are you aware of the consequences, health and safety-wise, of this project? You're the planning board, answer. You are all breaking the law. You are all breaking the law, and I'm going to prove it right now. In New Jersey, a breach of peace is defined as actions disrupting public tranquility, endangering safety, health, or morals, while public endangerment is recklessly creating substantial risk or serious harm to another person, or in this case, persons, of which this includes child endangerment. Abuse of power, as well, by definition, is the misuse of official authority by public officials or employees for illegitimate, unethical, or illegal purposes. Again, this board is guilty of all three of those illegal activities, two of which are considered felonies in the state of New Jersey. Sorry, I'm very anxious right now. It's horrible we have to be here. The toxic pollution, forever chemicals, and VOCs are poisonous. The infrasound, EMFs you have been made aware of, and the noise are all a nuisance and a threat to public safety. The lack of transparency, the manipulation of fact are considered harassment, all while you are aware of the current global climate crisis. You all feel how hot it is. All the coral reefs are bleached. I came in here and talked about biodiversity being down 70%. I made you all aware of these facts that this will impact as well. The butterfly effect is real, right? You are not immune from the climate crisis, and every industrial project that this board passes is either going to be causing it more, making it worse, or it could be sustainable, it can be beneficial to the community. You choose. Again, it is against the will of the people. This is major public outcry we are experiencing here. And because it will have damaging effects, this means it is factually been proven to you right now that this is a breach of peace. And you have the intent to endanger this public and their children. You are public officials. You are not immune. You do not get to just harm citizens and be immune to it because you think it's an industrial zone. There's been ones before. Absolutely not. We've never been in a climate crisis before. You have to respond differently now. You are responsible. You made the choices. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be, if it was up to us, none of you would be here. Therefore, as I have just proven, and I will back it up with more examples if you need me to prove it further on how you just committed 3 illegal acts. As I have just proven, as I did in front of the council last night, in accordance with the law, as I am witnessing the conspiracy and direct actions of this board with my own eyes and several witnesses behind me, and as again, you are not immune, including in this room, because we are talking felony level charges. And again, it's my civic duty to protect the people's well-being here. That's your job. It's only my civic duty. It's your job.
That's your time.
That's my time. Okay. You can either table it tonight, resign, or if you are not worried about the law, or if you are worried about the lawsuits, we will help you get out of them. If Corby is going to come at you for tabling this, we will help you get out
out of that